we have particular gratitude for Ron for showing up today. Literally was in the hospital yesterday, and basically, but basically has said that this is I feel very touched and grateful, Ron, for your agreeing to come with us today and help us set this off. So take it away.
Okay. As the elder here, I guess I'll just yak first. Wakshi e, Ran Montez e, Huchuke he, Habanabo.
Can't hear him so well.
I got to get closer. I'm right on it. You better do something on your end.
Down.
Okay, how can you hear me now? Really? Okay, good. Do I have to say my greeting again? Because of our elders who have passed, we are our language keepers. They are gone. And so it has passed down to the next generation of elders, which is me. And I am so unprepared to be in that position that I am humbled at the knowledge that has been lost, and such a deep, deep part of who we are as people. And so I've learned my greeting, and I've learned prayers, and I've learned phrases, but I don't have that knowledge that I need to be a speaker of our language. So I can say a few things to you in our language, like Duwe name kodi, which means good morning. Wakshi e, Ran Montez. My name is Ran Montez. Uchikehe, I'm an elder man of Kabenaboe, from the Rock People tribe. Our names were actually names of our geographical village sites. And there were prominent features around there that you could say to another native person, I'm from where those big rocks are over there by that mountain. And they would say, oh, Habenapo. Yeah, okay. And if there's other things that were there, clover valleys or something, they would say, I'm from that place where the clover is grown. And so this name, Pomo, is not our original name. We never heard of that until the archaeologists told us that's who we were. We were Hinto people, a people that know their creator and is in relationship with that creator and the creation that he placed us in to tend and to take care of and draw our sustenance from, and to protect it and to nurture it and make sure that it is healthy. By keeping our surroundings healthy, it keeps us healthy. And so there was a respect. Everything was related to us because it came from the same creator and Mother Earth. And so we respect that. In the days that we're living in, where we're seeing such tremendous destruction because of the fires, and I think that idea of respect has been moved to fear, and it has been moved to ideas that were not put in place to help the environment. There was someone's idea of what is good. And so we've been living out these things already. They are a donor state. But that's all right. I had that happen before. So we are living in this time of awakening in the United States, especially in California, especially because of their ideas of management of the natural resources and their cultural resources. To us, when we look at a piece of property, and I want you all to know that your eyes are based upon your set of values and based upon what you've been taught and learned from your elders your ancestors, and so it may vary. Ours has been based upon what I've just mentioned to you of a relationship from the very beginning of our existence, and it has been nurtured all the way down. We have had times now and before where the influence of the world around us has influenced our children, our younger ones, and they have adapted and adopted some of the cultures of the land of our oppressors. And so they start sounding like and talking like and thinking like those that are not in a relationship with the earth, with the trees. And so for us to share with you, we have to bring you into our perspective, our eyesight. When we see a piece of property, we don't put a value on it or a place where we could build a house or have a business or a getaway retreat or what. Those don't come into our minds. We look at those properties as what's missing here. If it's not doing well, that means something is wrong. And so we're looking, what's missing? Why is that creek still eroding all these banks? Why are all these other brush and things taking over these areas? And so we look at those things because they affect our ability to glean from them, to take them and to use them as part of our diet, as part of our basket making, as part of our culture, of everything. And so we look at it from a different point of view. Ours is one of relationship. So when I look at a big tree out there, I tell everybody that tree is my cousin, or my elder, or my uncle. And I look to see how many babies are around, how many teenagers are around. I like to see what grasses are taken over or what bushes are there that I could use for food or what things I can use for medicine. And so if those things are missing, then I know that then certain other things are missing. And so it's a whole mindset, it's a whole different vision, different value system that's in play here. And so from my perspective and my contributions to my time spent with the people here in Cobb, again, this place, Cobb Mountain, was a meeting place for many tribes to gather together, to have a big meal together, to dance, to sing, to enjoy their time together, to trade, to marry, and look for husbands and wives, and all of that was, so it had a different characteristic here. And so it was more festival, it was more happy. So that's that spirit that you feel here when you get up here and you go, oh, yeah, this feels nice. That was all laid out thousands of years ago. It's been every year, you know. And so these things have been placed here. Our ancestors are still here. We don't believe that they're gone forever. We believe they've moved from this land, this world, into the next world, and that we communicate with them in our prayers and our thoughts, and they communicate with us in ways that's special to each one of us. And so we're still enjoying our relationship with our ancestors and with the creation that Creator put us in. And we're looking to our ancestors for wisdom on how to keep going and doing the things they taught each generation down to where we are now. So here I am as an elder. Now I'm supposed to be teaching you as stewards over this land with my perspective in it. And so I want to see healing. I want to see life and freedom. I want to see invasive species removed. I want to see those medicines come up again. They all affect our insects, they infect our bird life, they infect our whole ecosystem. And if you're just looking at one aspect, you miss so much more. And that is part of our knowledge, part of our wisdom that we have as a people. We have a lot of stuff that has been spoken to us as little kids. We didn't know what they were talking about, but it kind of stuck in there. And then as we grew and grew and grew, we started to see the truth in it. And now we have adopted it and has made part of our core values. So that's my contribution to this today, is to encourage you to take on our perspective of the landscape, of our relatives, the trees, the animals, the plants, the bugs. Everything is related. We're a second cousin, I guess, to that worm over there. I don't know. But we are related. It's there for a reason. There are purposes for those. And when we step in with our own thoughts to change that purpose, it affects other things up the line. If we don't step in on certain things, it affects things up the line. And so it causes us to want to know how to manage those things that we've been giving. So that's my contribution today. So I'll leave it to... Yeah, we say, oh, here. Oh.
Okay. All right, can you guys hear me fine? All right, good. Toshi Corine Pearce. Que Casil Ana. So my name is Corine. I am from the Redwood Valley Rancheria. I also have ancestry from Lake County. So the only place I'm not from is the coast. No relations over on the coast. So I have been a basket weaver for 40 years, which is a long time. I started when I was 9. And I grew up in a really traditional home. That was the gift from my mom. She went out of her way to make sure that I had access to weavers and elders and ceremonial people and utilitarian people. Sorry, I get emotional. But it's a real gift. I started weaving at 9, and Ron is talking about looking at your environment with different eyes. And I've been looking at the environment with basket weaver's eyes since I was 9 years old.
That's right. Oh.
And what I have seen happen in just the last 20 years makes me feel sick to my stomach, because this is our home. This is your home. You guys all live here, right? So I sound possessive, and I am. Something about Pomo people especially is that we didn't really own land. It wasn't a concept that we could understand. But damn straight up, we owned trees and fields of food in a way that is hard for Europeans to understand, I think. I own it like I own this man right here. It's my uncle. I can't make him do what I want him to do, but I can take care of him, and he's going to take care of me in return. That's how we feel about the trees and the food forests that we created. Unsettlers have only been in California for about 180 years. That's not very long. That's not long at all. And we have been here, archaeologically speaking, about 20,000 years that they have proof for. But absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. We've been here since time started. Our creation stories come from here. I am made from Mount Canocti. It is my blood. It is my bones. So we have this connection. We have these stories that are taught to us. Creation stories, stories of animals, stories of gathering. And they weave our culture together. And like Ron said, we didn't understand what any of those stories meant. We have a story about, one of our creation stories about fire. Okay, our creation story is fire. So if you don't like fire, you're living in the wrong state. And it really impacted me, actually, what Elliot just said. This can be by disaster or it can be by design. Thus far, it's been by disaster. We suffer, and I'm going to quote Edward Curtis, and if you guys are familiar with pictures of Native Americans, you know Edward Curtis. By the time Americans got to California, they had perfected genocide. They did it in more than one way. It went really, really fast. And one of the ways that they managed to do it was control our food. They wouldn't allow us to burn. Isn't that weird? Like, if you know anything about the U.S. history, they've burnt ghettos down to kick people out of their homes. But here was the opposite. They wouldn't let us burn. And I was standing outside just right now, and I was saying, I want to take you guys all outside and show you what's happening right now, because this place, this beautiful, peaceful, lovely place, is 5 years from disaster. You can do stuff now. You can remove, you can start pulling out some bigger trees, open up some space, do some controlled burns. In 5 years, you can't fit your body between these trees. Your ancestors have had an incredible impact on this land, okay? And I'm saying you've done a lot of bad things. You're doing a lot of bad things now. We are all doing it because that's the way it was designed. In case you did not know, our forest management system was originally designed on the same forest management system as Australia. Do we have the same trees as Australia? Latitude, longitude, anything in common with it at all? No, we do not. So of course it's not working out. I am a true believer that this land is alive. It is alive. And it responds to us still to this day. And this is just my theory, and it's not really a theory, it's just an idea. When your people came here, you started chopping stuff down because you needed to build houses, right? That's what you guys did. So what did the land say? We got you. Here's some fir trees. Here's some fir trees, and some fir trees, and some fir trees, and some fir trees. And what'd you guys do? You stopped cutting down trees to build houses. You started cutting down redwood trees. When our land is like, I just gave you all these fir trees. I thought you were asking for building material. So now our forest is overrun with plants that do belong here, but not in the number that they're in. In case you guys did not know, fir trees are pine trees. And pine trees, when you are a fire steward, a fire keeper of the land, you see plants differently. I see pine trees as dynamite. They are dynamite, and here's why. They litter, okay? They drop their beautiful dry pine cones and needles, and they make up, a good 2 feet, and then 3 feet, and then 4 feet. And then when the fire comes, all that stuff underneath preheats the sap in the tree. You guys know fat wood, right? How many of you guys have fireplaces at home and you start with super sappy pine wood, right? Because it sparks. So that's preheating in the tree. When the fire makes it up to the canopy, which now it will, because it explodes and it sends burning sap everywhere. So that's how I see fir trees and pine trees. I also see them, and I've made this comparison a lot, and you guys seem like an older crowd, so you guys might not know the aluminum foil juice packs that I enjoyed in my youth. Anybody? Hi-C juice packs with the straw? Okay, that is designed for one straw. That's your water table, okay? That little packet. Now, every fir tree is a little plastic straw. And it's just tapping them in there, and there goes your water supply. And those roots go way, way, way down, straight down. They're not doing any good for the land. They're not holding water in the roots like oak trees can do. Europeans also brought over these really evil grasses, okay, and broom. And all these non-native grass, we did not have grass like that. We did not. And surprise, those things that you brought over are way more flammable. They burn at a higher temperature. So when they actually do catch, they are doing damage. They are not doing good. Controlled burns, cultural burns, those bring good. Okay? When you burn, so on the way up here, broom. There's a ton of broom. It's so pretty. I hate it. That stuff will pop and sizzle and catch really hot and burn so hot that it sterilizes the ground. Okay? So it's not helping. There is good fire. I'm gonna share a story with you guys because I like to share stories. And I tell this one a lot, and I think it can kind of help you understand our point of view when it comes to fire. Just so you know, I'm also a California naturalist, so I'm not just, I am a total nerd. Like, I like to study pollen counts going back 3,000, 4,000 years. I do a lot of really, really crazy stuff. But Native people have been affecting this land since we've been here, according to the pollen counts. We have decided what is going to grow. We have decided what we're going to remove and what we're going to cage. People are shocked to know that our ancestors caged oak trees. Like, why does that shock you? It's so weird to me. Okay, so here I'm going to ask you guys a question. I hope you get it right. My elementary kids get it right. My college kids get it wrong every time. So after Native Americans, who were the first people here in California who came? Somebody? Who said Russians? Yes, the Russians got here first, okay? And you can't trust the Spanish because, and I'm not saying that you can't trust all Spanish now, what do I know? But you can't trust their reports because they wanted something. They wanted land, they wanted gold. And they also came to a land that had already been decimated by germs. The germs and your wild oak grasses got here way before any Europeans got here. Way, way before that. And you also can't trust the unsettlers. Americans straight up lied about what they found over here because they were writing advertisements for people on the East Coast to try and get them to come over here. So they're lying. But the Russians say, straight up, all the way from Bodega Bay to Washington, this land was park-like. How many of you guys ride horses? Anybody? Gosh, nobody? Okay, so it takes a lot of room for me to ride a horse and Jordan to ride a horse and us be talking next to each other. So the Russians said that you could go from one tip of California to the other astride on horses. If you go outside, there's some trees I can't slip through. It was on purpose. Everything was designed for a purpose. And if you don't believe that, I want to tell you, I teach a lot, and I sit in a lot of college classes, and high school is the worst, actually. I often hear them talk about civilization, like agriculture and civilization. We had agriculture. We abandoned it over 7,000 years ago because it was stupid. Why would we struggle to grow something that's going to provide a couple weeks of food when there is an oak tree outside that drops hundreds of pounds of food every other year that doesn't need refrigeration? Anybody want to guess how long a bunch grass, a pinole seed grass can live? Somebody? Anybody? They can live up to 100 years. Why would I plant a tomato when I am going to get seeds, highly nutrient dense packed seeds that don't care if it's a drought, that don't care if a wildfire rolled through because they have a low burn temp? And they also don't spread. You have to spread them by harvesting them. Made no sense to us. Why would unsettlers bring sheep and let them eat that? And they're going to kill that sheep and have what? Some meals? Makes no sense. So I'm getting to the story, I really am. But I just want you guys to know, and clearly, what we have been doing is not working. It is not working, and I'm okay with saying that. We need a new way, a better way. And we've been here so long, and I challenge you. I teach, for TERA, I teach their stewardship thing, and one of the easiest things that you can do to change your vision is go outside and take in the landscape, and then remove, with your imagination, all of the invasive species. Get rid of the broom, get rid of the dandelions, get rid of the vinca, get rid of the periwinkle, all that gone. And then remove every pine tree under 80 years from that scene. Okay, and just so you know, fir trees, pine trees, they pretty much grow a lateral branch or a horizontal branch every year or so. So you can count them. Right outside here in the front of the school, there's a huge pine tree that I'm estimating is about 70 years old, and a little tiny black oak tree that I'm estimating is about 40 years old. So don't be fooled into thinking that that's old growth, and it's not. It's not. I go up to brook trails, and there's these trees, and I'm just cruising through, like I go visit friends, I'm like, when did they clear cut here? About 70 years back? Yeah, about 70 years back. We are very different now. Like Ellie was saying, or somebody was saying that it's been like this all this time. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. I really challenge you to go online and find historical aerial photos of California. Find Yosemite. Find Leggett. And it is meadowlands. There are no fir trees. There are a few giant redwood trees, but nothing like it is now. Nothing. When I look at things, and I want you guys to do the same, you live here. You guys need to start using acorns. You need to start harvesting the plants that are around you. I'm also an herbalist, so I teach hippie stuff. What you need grows near you. Whatever medicine you need is literally chemically drawn to your body because it's going to get propagated if you use it. So you need to look at what's around you. You guys probably have more food around you than you can even imagine. California, and especially this area, is one of the most biodiverse regions on the planet. It is the most biodiverse region of the United States, even more so than Hawaii, because nothing comes from Hawaii. You can grow anything there, but you can't, there's not really anything specifically from there. For example, in Georgia, they have 1 or 2 types of pine trees, and we have like 8. We have 22 kinds of oak trees and over 20 different kinds of hybrid oak trees. We have over 20 different kinds of manzanita trees. We have so much biodiversity here that everything that we need is already here. I lived through the 2017 Mendo Complex fire. So we lost 20% of our housing on our rancheria. We would have lost all of it if it wasn't for the men of our tribe staying behind and literally fighting the fire. And it was the same night that Ilem burned. And Santa Rosa, same night. Everybody I loved was in danger in that night. It didn't matter if they were over here on the lake. I was like, and I felt like God was pointing his fiery finger at me. Like, all your cousins are in danger. And, and I heard them say on the scanner, the reservation's a goner, just leave it. So they left. We had just bought a fire truck. They actually named a day in Ukiah after the men of my tribe because they basically saved Potter Valley because the mountain was going to go, or the fire was going to go over the mountain. So the story I'm going to tell impacted me so much after that, okay? I started a basketry garden. It was the first native plant basketry garden in California on reservation land about 28 years ago. So I've been doing that a long time. And the fire burnt through there, totally burnt everything up, which is fine, which is great, because they hadn't let me burn. And I got to show, this is what happens when fire comes through and you've been tending. This is what happens when fire comes through and you haven't, because I had 2 different areas to show. But it was very impactful. It changed a lot of stuff. But the story I'm going to tell you, for me, it changed after that event. Anybody know anything about Pomo mythology? Anything at all? Everybody know about Zeus and Hera and the Titans? It bothers me a lot. Okay, so in Pomo mythologies, there's the time of giants. Mount Konocti is a giant. Dano-2 is a giant. Over Bottle Rock Road is a giant. They're all sleeping right now. Some of them are dead. Konocti was mortally wounded, and he's not alive anymore. But Obsidian Man is still alive, and I drive over his back every time I come on Bottle Rock Road, so I feel really blessed. And then there is the anamorphic times, which is when animals and plants and spirits were much more like people. We all lived in villages, we communicated with each other, and I often think about a Cobb when I tell this story, because in my head, those anamorphic villages were very much like this meeting place, you know, where everybody's there in their family, but they're like, I might marry that guy, you know, or we should trade some beads, or, you know, and so I'm always imagining it like that. And there's something I always like to share about this village, because it just makes me giggle. So Blue Jay is captain of the bird village, and captain is kind of like chief. They are our spiritual leader, they make the decisions, and so Blue Jay's captain of the bird village, and he is the bravest man in town and the stupidest man in town. So he gets into a lot of, and I really know a lot of people like that. So I always like to mention him. Anyway, and then there's the time of trials, which is when all the animals and spirits are deciding what people are going to be, and there's transformation time. So this story is during anamorphic time, and my great-grandma was from Big Valley, so most of my stories are from the lake, and her mom was from Cache Creek, so I get further and further that way. But anyway, this story starts on the shores of Clear Lake, which I hope you guys all know is the largest and oldest freshwater lake in North America. Those Great Lakes, they're babies compared to us. So Coyote is on the side of the lake, and he has a fire. And Coyote is not creator for Pomo people. For Northern California people, a lot of tribes, he is creator. But for us, he's the brother of creator. And he's very human to me, you know? He's mischievous, sometimes he's wise, sometimes he's really, really selfish most of the time. So he does a lot of things, he represents a lot of stuff. His tail catches on fire, and instead of running into the lake, he runs in the opposite direction and catches the whole world on fire. And the fire burns so hot that it destroys everything. Okay? And when I say that, I remember the fire and how hot it got. And I don't know if any of you guys have seen Moana. I don't know if you guys are Disney folks or not, but there is a lava monster that they call TERA. And I swear to God, she was up the hill on our Rancheria ripping branches off of oak trees just for fun. I know these oak trees. They were healthy. They were fine. But she was up there ripping branches off. Anyway, so the fire's burning so hot. All the water boils up. All the birds are gone. Trees are gone. The soil is just decimated. And Creator, who we call Marumda, which can mean creator of the earth or dreamer of the earth, lives up north, which is, as far as I can tell, kind of like our version of in heaven. But anyway, or maybe it's Eureka, for all I know. So he's up north, and he sees the fire. He sees the smoke. He sees all the ash. And so he comes down, and it's like, for some reason, Creator always sounds like a Valley girl because I'm telling the story. He's like, whoa, what is happening down here? What is going on? And everything's burnt up. So normally, I have an elderberry flute. You guys are familiar with elder? Okay. So this song, the story I'm telling you is called The Dawn of Song, the first song on earth. And Creator has this kick-ass bag made out of the head of a mountain lion. And he's got all his magical stuff in there, right? So he pulls out this elderberry flute, and he starts to play a song. And the song is so magical that it calls everything back into creation. The water starts to flow, the bunch grasses start to sprout, the trees start to grow, birds start flying. Everything comes back better than before, okay? So this story tells us a couple of things. One, everything benefits from fire. We came from fire. Fire is renewal. And the other thing is that we use elder clappers when we sing or when we pray. Elders, so this might be more older crowd speed. You guys watch Star Trek? Anybody? Okay, yes, I love Star Trek. So for us, clappers are universal translators. They speak every language on the planet because they are co-creator with the universe. They sung everything into being. And what's super cool is that elders grow all over the world except for Siberia, the Arctic, and the Antarctic. So if you're a human and you lived somewhere, your ancestors are connected to that plant. And that plant is here for you. You should be protecting it. You should be using it. You should be asking for its help to see the landscape in a new way. Just so you know, my dad's German. His dad came from Germany between World War I and World War II, so I'm okay with that. I have European roots. I also have straight up redneck roots because my grandma is from Virginia. And so definitely got that colonizer blood in here. But they were rednecks. They really did fight in the redneck revolutions in the mines, so proud of that. For Europeans and European descendants, this is more than just a weird concept, I think, for people. This goes against what your ancestors were raised with. Did you know in England you still can't own property? You can lease for 99 years from the Queen. And then when that lease comes up, you have to renew it. People came here to expand and to be kings in their own right. That's the only reason you guys have lawns. Did you know that? The only reason that you guys have trimmed, manicured lawns in front of your house is because that's what the French did in front of their castles. Being kings and queens in your own land is not what it's cracked up to be. We have to have responsibility. Okay, you live here now. When you buy a house and you move in, you don't stop cleaning, right? If you make a mess, you have to clean that up. If you are stewarding land, you have to take care of it. You can't and I'm sorry, I take up all the time. You can't, and I make this comparison a lot. You buy a new house and they have a beautiful garden already set up, automatic water, perennials and annuals and bug-attracting flowers. And then you're like, oh, this is great. This garden's great. I'm going to enjoy it forever. But you don't weed and you don't water and you don't pull out, you don't cut the little saplings off. You don't harvest seeds. That garden's a goner in a couple of weeks. And thus far, farmers, ranchers. Everybody has been resting on our laurels. We maintained this land for thousands of years. We made it nutrient rich. And then you come in and you're like, oh, well, thanks. Bye, guys. You need help. You need to know, like, I need help. I'm not a good gardener. I come to you guys for help. Like, what do I do with this thing? So I guess what I want to say is you have to give yourself permission to interact with the world around us. And you need to do it with a different point of view, because the point of view we've been using is killing us. It is draining our water tables. It is causing more fire damage because we're scared. So we work with somebody named Ron Good, who's a great man, and he said that if you want to be prepared for fire, you can't be afraid of it. So make friends with fire. Make friends with these guys that help consult and bring the fire. And I think that's all I have to say.
What's my time at?
About 15. We started 5 minutes late, so 15 minutes.
All right. Amenehi, kalaktek tulenkati, kani kasaka uliomi. Good day, my name is Jordan Reyes. I'm a Middletown Rancheria tribal member, but I'm also the field coordinator for the Tribal Eco Restoration Alliance. It's an intertribal nonprofit based out of Upper Lake here in Lake County. We work on revitalizing a lot of the ecosystems to the native ecology. So it's going in and removing those invasive plants so we can propagate our native plants, because a part of it is a part of our cultural heritage. It's part of our identity. So I never was a basket weaver, not until I learned from Corine working with TERA, and that's what I steward the land for, is for my basketry materials, my foods, my medicines, and I use those on an everyday basis. I live here in Hidden Valley, so even there I have an undeveloped lot, and I use that undeveloped lot, and I have a lot of wild plants out there that I can use. I have yerba santa, I have soaproot, I have buckbrush, I now planted 2 blue oaks on that lot. And because I'm at a higher elevation, I don't have a lot of blue oaks that are propagating out everywhere. So I'm starting to make some. And I'm very angry at the deer because they're eating them all. But I've also started doing burn pits there. You know, I've been written into California's law. I'm a cultural burn lead for Middletown Rancheria. And about 2024 and 2023, we did 2 cultural burns out in Middletown Rancheria. I don't know if you guys are familiar, the Beaver Creek Winery, the old winery right there at the edge of town. We burned the oak grove there for the acorns. And the second year I was able to lead that burn as a cultural burn lead. And that gave me the tools I needed, but it also showed that we as a community can steward our lands together. And that's what a lot of you are. I don't see you as allies. And like Corine said, this is your home too. You're good neighbors. You want to be able to take care of this home because you call it home too. You see the beauty in the land for what it is. So now it's time to start acting like it by helping us be out there. And one thing is, the natives used to be here since time immemorial to steward these lands, and so it's really good to have them there with you, because they know how these plants are, they know how they react, they know what they need, they have all of these knowledge. So being able to let them lead and show you how it does, so that way you can take care of these lands, is the main focus. You know, being able to be in this area of Cobb, this is one of those shared areas, like Uncle Ron was saying, where we met, and this is a shared area between Middletown and Big Valley. And we have connections with each other. For Big Valley, in our traditional language, for Lake Miwok, they're Chapayomi, which is rock home. So it shows that there's that connection between us. And another one is, while we are called Pomo, that's an acronym given to us by the government. It means people of mixed origin, because they couldn't pinpoint exactly where these villages were coming from. So they had to look up.
I'm going to interrupt you because that's not actually right.
Is it? Help me then.
Okay. I'm going to tell you guys where Pomo came from. So when Uncle Ron introduces himself, he says, Habamato village. So when I say where I'm from, I say Kasilkai Dano, the Redwood Valley village. We don't ever say Pomo. There was one Pomo Dano, the Pomo village. I'm going to pass this around, actually. You guys can look at it while he's talking. This right here. Does anybody know what this is? This rock? It's called magnesite in Pomo. In almost all of our languages, it's called po, which means gold. Not gold. We didn't care about yellow gold. This is our gold. Mo means whole. Lamo, shimamo. Pomo is the quarry, the village where they quarried this rock. And every tribe that used this as money and had similar stories, and we don't even speak similar languages. Their language to me, it might as well be Portuguese. This is why we're all called Pomo. Every tribe that used this is now called Pomo. So it isn't people of mixed origin. It's actually named after the Pomo Dano village in Potter Valley. That's why I still call myself Pomo, because I have relatives that lived in the Pomo Dano, But this is it. I'm going to pass this around, and you guys can guess how much this rock cost. I don't care about diamonds, but these are my diamonds. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Sorry.
As you can see, I'm always learning from Corine. And another thing is, we do speak very different languages, but we also have commonalities with our customs and traditions, and that's because they came off of the landscape. All of our dances, our songs, all of our medicines, ceremonies, they came from the reflections of the land and reflections of us. So being able to connect back to that land is a part of what we do at TERA. We have all these trainings that we do according to the NWCG standards, but we add different learning abilities to them. We add the cultural aspect of why we do control burns from what we see it from a Western standpoint, but what makes it different as a cultural burn. A prescribed fire could have goals and objectives that are measurable, things that they want, like they want invasive removal, or they want different things for wildfire resiliency. Whereas for a cultural burn, we're looking for different outcomes. We want to see zero mortality in our oaks. We want to remove a lot of the invasive pines and firs. It could be different aspects of that, but the point of it is for us to be able to practice our heritage again. And a lot of it can come down to that. There's a lot of miscommunications amongst the different communities, from tribal communities to non-tribal, but we're all here together, and being able to speak to each other on things that we need is the main premise. And one of them is, all of you guys want wildfire resiliency, and cultural fire can bring that to you, because when you have cultural fire, the people that were here first are able to steward their lands and be able to practice their heritage again, but then you get a wildfire resilient community instead. And so you get both of these outcomes of these two communities that want one thing, but when they do it together, you get both the outcomes you need. And so one thing I learned from going out and traveling a lot is there's a lot of young Native youth that are doing something where they call it boundary spanning. Boundary spanning is bridging those two worlds together, because it's something we've never done before. And so being able to blend Western science with cultural ideologies and understanding that they're working together, and that a lot of times Western science is catching up to what we've already been knowing. My people used to burn all the time, and to us it was a way of life. And you people used to burn at one time too, way back when. And it's just losing that connection, but it's okay to find those connections. And it doesn't have to be specifically where you're from. The connections back to land can come where you are, where you call home. And if this is where you call home, that's where you're gonna find your connection. And don't be ashamed to feel like some kind of guilt, because you're here for things that weren't out of your control, and it's not your fault. But what thing you can control is what you're gonna do here now in the time and space that you have for the place you call home. And so taking that time to learn your relatives nearby, the trees, the local tribes, the animals, they're all here. This is their home too. But learning how to live with it. And something that I just learned from another workshop was, when we had all these wildfires, the thinking was to turn off the fire. But when we have floods or there's so much rain, we learn to deal with it. But why is it we do it to one element but not the other? That has never been on our thinking, is to turn off the water, because we need it. And it's the same thing with fire. We don't turn it off, we don't suppress it, we need it. It helps our landscapes, and it helps everything revitalize. It's renewal, it's life and energy. So being able to bridge those gaps is one of our main focus, and we have to do it through NWCG standards. And another reason we have to do that is we have a lot of tribes here in Lake County. There's 7 different tribes here. All of them have trust lands. And trust lands are when the federal government holds it in trust for them. But then we have to abide by the rules of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and they keep us from being able to steward our lands. California is making a lot of strides in allowing us to have those sovereignties back, being able to have cultural burn leads, SB 310 allowing us to burn without having to interfere with CAL FIRE whatsoever. Those are different things that are pushing for tribal sovereignty, and it's coming from California, not from the federal government. So when I own fee land, which is state land that is still under state jurisdiction but owned by a tribe, we have the means to be able to steward the lands, whereas the federal government doesn't allow us. And so we host these trainings, these NWCG trainings, that allow us to be firefighter 1, 2, to be able to work wildland chainsaws, to understand the wildland-urban interface, all of these Western sciences, so that way we can steward our land. But when we do that, we try not to forget who we are, why we're burning. You know, I'm burning for acorns. I'm burning for all of these trees that used to feed my people. And that's the thing, when I go out in the landscapes, I see these oak trees, these massive grandmother oaks. Even driving out of Middletown, you know, you see these huge oaks and they're just beautiful, but we always wonder, where are the teenagers? Where are those young adults? It's hardly ever see those. We see some of them in the burn scars because they needed that fire to propagate. But now we're in that age where I'm seeing all of these trees that used to feed my people, and now I have to try and steward and catch up. And a lot of it is like caging those oak trees so that way they can come back. Because I'll never sit in their shade, but maybe my grandkids or my great-grandkids will, or maybe they'll see the first acorn and be able to harvest. But that's the kind of commitment we have to put in. We have to think 7 generations ahead to take care of trees that aren't going to take care of me now, but will take care of my family in a later time. And so thinking about that as we go forward in life, you know, what needs to be here? What shouldn't be here? Why are we having these wildfires? You know, why is the water table so low? All of it is connected. You know, we, like Corine was saying, with the straw and the pouch, we have all these grasses, we have all these trees, we have all these firs. Did you know that a fir pine sapling can drink around 50 gallons of water a day? And that's way more than we need, and especially in our forest landscape now, we're just draining our water table. We're not leaving anything for our native plants. But our native plants are resilient just like us, and we have areas, we're trying to find new ways where we can mend the land, because just because we've lost knowledge doesn't mean we can figure it out how to bridge the gap today. Like Corine was saying, when we pile Scotch broom and we burn it so much, we learned from another elder, Ron Good, that we can mend that land after we scarify that soil. When we burn piles and we make it so hot, sometimes the goal is to kill that seed bank of the invasives. And when we do that, then we start taking traditional sticks and we till the soil. We re-oxygenize the soil, putting oxygen back in with the nitrogen, turning it from black to purple. And then while you're tilling that soil, you're bringing the native seed bank up. And we're finding that those native seed banks are living far longer than they thought they were. Some seed banks, they think 25, 50, 75 years, when there's a seed bank that's 200 years old that's resprouting. And it's just learning and understanding, and even things that's lost, the answers are usually within ourselves. Because I came from Middletown, we didn't have a lot of fire. We didn't have a lot of fire stories. But a lot of my sister villages around the lake, they had it. A lot of connections to other places, they still had it. And they have those memories. And we used to work with them together, because a lot of times we spoke more than one language. You know, we have stories of my families coming from Middletown and going all the way to the coast. And that's a trip that took months, because it wasn't just a one-shot clear there. You took time as you went there. You went to new areas, you took time, you ate, you spent time together, and then you moved on. But you made that slow journey to visit your relatives all the way to the coast, spend time, and come back. And so really connecting back to each other is what we need. And a lot of our trainings, they take us to other tribes, and we take us to greater communities as a whole. Our NWCD trainings, while they are catered for tribal members, we do open it up for the greater community, because these are skills that they should have. And understanding that, like Cultural Fire Management Council up in the Yurok area, they do something very similar to what we do here. And they have created a wildfire resilient community, what you guys want here, where simple landowners coming to see help, but they know basic fire behavior. They know basic ways and strategies of being able to contain a fire, and having what little equipment they have when they band it together, they're able to stop wildfires, because they're in such rural places that maybe CAL FIRE can't reach them in time, but they have the means to take care of things themselves. And that's the true definition of a wildfire resilient community. Us coming together when there's a need, and knowing what we can do, and being able to organize ourselves, because this is our home. And so being a part of TERA has reconnected me back with my land. The introduction I gave you, that was something I learned off of the land, not through teachers. That was something that I had lesson plans that we were trying to revitalize their language, but it just felt like a certain component was missing. I can't name everything in here in my language because we didn't have this. But when we go outside, I can tell you what everything is. There's even words in our language for plants that don't exist anymore. That's how biodiverse we were. That when settlers came here, there's words for things that they had no idea what it was because we can't find them anymore. And so that's how adapted they were to our communities, to our knowledge of fire. And really, they were adapted and evolved to just being with us. And that we always see as nature being separate from us when we are a part of it. Like in our languages, I don't even think, do you guys have a word for nature?
No.
It's just a part of us. You know, we were a part of it. We weren't separate from it. We were connected. And so really connecting back is the basis of everything for us. And it's the basis of why, me being here in Cobb, I was connected here from the get-go. I'm from Middletown. I moved here when I was 6 months old because my mom started to work on tribal council. And then I became embedded in this community. I lived through that catastrophic wildfire, the Valley Fire, with all of you. Part of my cleanup crew when I was here, mine was Ziegler Springs all the way to Anderson Springs, and that was my coverage area because it was in my ancestral territory. But seeing how my community felt through the wildfire, native or non-native, it was destructive and it was heartbreaking because these are the people I grew up with. You know, I saw a teacher that I had known that was really supportive when I was in 8th grade, he didn't have a home. And I saw it, and that's what kind of broke me because my community was in danger, and I had no idea how to help them. I grew up not knowing. I only grew up through 2 wildfires, and that's all I knew. But then it seems like after I graduated, it was every year, and it didn't stop. And so thinking, how can I help my community? At first, it was how can I help my tribal community, and then I realized my community I'm a part of is here. It's part of the greater community. I played sports with a lot of kids from these communities. They're embedded with me. And I just wanted to be able to be there, not only for my people, but for all of us, to be able to have a healthy landscape and to have something for our kids, for our future, and being able to share that knowledge. There's some things that we can and can't teach, but what I can teach, I'll make sure I share in abundance because it's something to be shared, so that way we have a safe home together. Trying to think what else, how much time I got.
Negative.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody.
Elliot, I want to say one thing. So, how many of you guys feel like you can take care of the land around you? Okay, well, if you didn't raise your hand, I have homework for you. Even if you did raise your hand, go for a walk. And if you see a fir tree or a pine tree on that trail that's under 2 feet tall, rip that baby out. Okay? They come up like carrots. And when you do, think of 50 gallons of water a day that you are saving for your water table. It's fun. So go ahead and rip those babies out.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you guys so much.